I'm attorney Nick Alcock, and if you've been arrested, you're facing criminal charges, watch this video before you hire any attorney. It will be worth your while. I'll just go through the steps very quickly, and we're going to start with the idea of urgency. So if a lawyer says, look, you got to sign up right now, on occasion that's true, but usually it is not. So if you're in a lawyer's office and they've taken your credit card, or you're feeling like you're being pressured, you can walk out of there. Usually there is no incredible pressure for you to sign up right that moment. There are some cases where hiring the attorney early can be to your benefit. Some misdemeanors where a diversion type of plea agreement is only available at the very beginning of the case. Some federal cases where there's a fast track or there's a situation where the prosecutor's putting a lot of pressure on you. Those are the types of cases where you have to move fast, but almost every case, there's some amount of time, a day or two, for you to consider what your options are. So don't find yourself in a situation where you feel like you gotta sign this contract because that's the only game in town. You have some amount of time. The second is, and this is very important as well, is that when you go to court, so when you say that you show up, you can always ask the judge for more time. You can always find out what your options are going alone, and you can say, hey, judge, I would like to have some more time. Usually they will give you more time to find a private attorney. That first court appearance is not trial. It's not like typically. On occasion, you'll find a jurisdiction where they move very, very quickly. Again, federal cases are a little bit different. Most of the time, there is some process at the very beginning of cases, felonies or misdemeanors, city court, superior court, where at the very beginning you show up and effectively the only thing that happens is the case gets set to a status conference or pretrial conference. And the purpose of that status conference and pretrial conference is for your lawyer to sit down with the prosecutor and obtain all of the evidence, and that's pretty much it. So the name of the game at the very beginning is you have a little bit of time, don't feel pressured. You can go to court by yourself for that first court appearance, but it's always a good idea to speak with an attorney early because on occasion there can be a trick, there can be a trap, and you need to be aware of that. You got to be, don't walk into court, for example, in federal court, where they say, hey, this is a fast track plea and you have to decide right now. Do you want this plea agreement or are we going to trial? That's pretty much one of the few places where you'd really have to have all of your eggs absolutely lined up in a row perfectly. Make sure that you are covered. Finally, the thing you want to consider is how much is it going to cost you? Now, lawyers, they love to have fine print and they love to have little carve-outs and exceptions and things like that. And where lawyers will get you is that they'll charge you one fee at the very beginning of a case and then they'll charge you another fee for trial or setting the case to trial. In many, many cases, it makes sense to set your case to trial, even though it's not going to go to trial. Obviously, one of the levers that you have, or some leverage that you would have with the prosecutor is say, hey, give us a really good plea or we're taking this case to trial. And so you got to set the case to trial to be credible. You've got to use some amount of gamesmanship on occasion. So if the lawyer is going to charge you money to set the case to trial, you may be losing a negotiating tactic or your case may wind up being way, way more expensive than you think. If you can't afford that setting the case to trial fee, then the problem becomes if your lawyer withdraws, your case gets sent back to the public defender's office, but it's back to the public defender's office in midstream. And no lawyer wants to inherit a case that is halfway through. A lawyer typically wants to have all of the time available to him or her to work the case up as they see fit. So if you do hire a private attorney, they come back, they ask you for more money, you can't pay it, they withdraw, your case goes back to the public defender's office, and you put yourself in a little bit of a bad situation. So if you come to my firm and you're facing criminal charges, we're not going to put pressure on you. You're always going to have time to think. We are not going to say, hey, you got to stop now. It's not how we operate. Of course, you have time to consider what your options are. We don't charge the trial fee or a fee for setting your case to trial. It's one flat fee. It's not a situation where we're going to come back halfway through and say, hey, look, give us a pile of money or we're gone. I firmly believe that when you take a case and you take it in every way possible so that you don't put your client in harm's way. You don't create a scenario where time and time again you're going to be withdrawing from representation because your clients can't afford a trial fee. That's why I've set it up so that we have one flat fee. And it's just important for you to know the distinction between some lawyers. Some lawyers charge a trial fee, Other lawyers don't, and it's their call. I just don't want to be in a situation where I'm withdrawing from representation because I've charged X amount of money, and now I'm coming back and I'm asking for Y amount of money, and that's just, I'm not comfortable with doing that. The last piece of advice I can tell you is take your time and think. This is a very significant moment in your life, and try to stay calm and try to be as organized as you possibly can. People who are facing criminal charges, their minds start to spin. They start to act maybe a little bit irrationally. They start to let the fear get the better of them. And irrespective of who you have as an attorney, if you can be organized and you can be positive, and if you can just put that fear response to the side and be really, really linear as you possibly can, you're very, very likely to wind up with a much better outcome. So if you have any questions whatsoever, we have a free consultation here. The number is 602-989-5000. That's 602-989-5000. My name's attorney Nick Alcock, and I'm here to help you. Thank you so much for watching this. I'm sorry if you're going through a tough time right now, but if you do call us, you'll find out that we really do want to help you out. So take care. We'll talk soon.